Well, hello, Convention of State supporters. My name is Andrew Woodruff. I will be your host for this episode of COS Live. And of course, I am joined by my partner in crime, Rita Peters. Rita, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm excited about today's show. We've got exciting news to share.
We do have exciting news to share, and it's another opportunity for us to be in the fight for liberty on this glorious Tuesday. So I'm excited about that, especially because the forces at work that are trying to take away our self-governance, they're working overtime right now, especially with President Biden considering and signaling his support for removing the Senate filibuster, which is absolutely frightening. But what do normal Americans, in light of this, what do they have to hope for if they lose the filibuster? Well, our own Vice President of Legislative Affairs, Rita Peters, she's going to give a hope-filled message and an update about what is going on with Convention of States and the amazing momentum and surges we are seeing across the nation. So we're going to get to that in just a moment. And we have an exclusive interview with Jay Taylor, who is the legislative liaison in West Virginia. He's going to give us an update about what happened last week when West Virginia passed this COS resolution in the Senate, becoming the first legislative chamber in 2021 to pass our resolution. Is West Virginia going to be the 16th state to pass the COS resolution? We will get an answer from Jay in just a few moments. But before we get to all of that, of course, we have our Article 5 trivia giveaway with COS Vice President Mike Ruthenberg. Mike, take it away.
Thank you, Andrew. Hello, Rita. It is great to be here to be able to join you on this broadcast today. To our ever-growing crowd, it is amazing how many people are joining these broadcasts and how much great news there is to report. One of the cool things is there's a race on to see which is going to be our 16th state to pass the COS resolution, which is exciting, especially given all of the acrimony that's going on surrounding our federal government and the current administration. Today's trivia is going to be a lot of fun because we're going to celebrate something that happened 2 years ago. As you know, last year, we didn't have much legislative activity because everything was shut down for COVID. But I have some pretty exciting news. And if you're noticing this fancy G.I. Joe looking t-shirt that I'm wearing, it's because it's one of the samples that I got for our new Convention of States store. And as you remember, if you are a longtime viewer, and it's going to take a longtime viewer to get our trivia question today, but you've probably been waiting for us to reopen the store, and we're very, very close. I have the prototypes in hand. As a matter of fact, I'm going to share the wealth. And this is a prototype of what we call our rally t-shirt. This is a large. You can't really see it shimmer and the color change right here. This is a sample. We decided the logo needs to be about twice this size. This is a size large t-shirt. And ultimately the rally tee is going to have a very large logo, boom, right on the front. We have lots of other shirts coming up. We got some special shirts coming up as well. We have a whole bunch of stuff that we're very excited to reopen the store. As soon as we can get the stuff made and into the fulfillment center, we're going to let you guys know and open the doors. But for now, the winner today is going to get that very t-shirt. It will be a collector's item because there are very, very few like it. And since we're going to be changing a little bit, we're going to be putting some logos on the sleeves, as you're probably used to seeing. And then that will become the production stuff. So for today, go ahead and sharpen your minds and get your fingers close to the keyboard so you can answer our trivia question, which is 2 years ago, we're just about to celebrate the second anniversary of this state. I'm sorry, we just celebrated the anniversary of this state's passage as a Convention of States passed state. So it was 2 years ago this week. The hint I can give you is it's also this kind of giveaway, so get your fingers ready if you don't have the question answered already. which state, the Magnolia State, passed the Convention of States resolution? There's your question today. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Andrew and Rita, who are going to have Jay Taylor on from West Virginia. That's going to be a really great conversation. And I'll talk to you guys towards the end of the show. Back to you, Andrew.
Thanks, Mike. Well, President Biden, he is reversing course again. I mean, what can we expect? It's not like he's a politician or anything. Do you remember back when he said that the Supreme Court should not be packed, that it would be a bad idea to pack the Supreme Court? And then unfortunately, Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away and Amy Coney Barrett was elevated to the Supreme Court. And then all of a sudden he changed his tune and said, well, maybe it's something we could look into. And then there was that task force that was formed to look into how the judiciary can be reformed. Well, he's changing his tune again when it comes to the filibuster. Do you remember in 2005 when he said nixing the filibuster would eviscerate the Senate? Do you remember that? Well, now he's changing his tune. Now the filibuster is a relic of the Jim Crow era. So it looks like the filibuster is on the chopping block, and Axios is reporting that Biden is meeting with historical experts to see how fast they can go with big government ideas, how big they can go. Like how big is too big and how fast is too fast to cram down these policies, these once in a lifetime policies by nixing the filibuster. And make no mistake, this is just the federal government inserting its opportunity to take over all the things that you hold dear. So let's take states' rights, for example. So the federal government would then have the power to go in and change state election laws with, like, HR 1. If the filibuster is gone, that would pass in the Senate. So the states would not have the ability to run election laws. I mean, what can go wrong with the federal government taking over the election process? And then what about rights of the individual? On the table would be getting rid of the Second Amendment if the filibuster was nixed. Gun registries, gun buybacks, all of these things would be on the table. And then what about spending? I mean, we saw the $1.9 trillion spending bill that was just passed. If there was no filibuster, what's going to stop the $4 trillion infrastructure? What's going to stop things like the Green New Deal, things like green jobs? All of these things will be on the table if the filibuster is nixed. And the part that's really concerning is the growing narrative that's coming out of this, because Biden loves this. Biden loves the fact that he is being viewed as going harder, going bigger, and going faster than his Democratic predecessor, Barack Obama. And in fact, it looks like he's going to be elevated to FDR and LBJ and the New Deal and the Great Society. So I can just see it now. I can see the press referring to him through his initials, JRB. I could see that. So we'll see. It doesn't have quite the flow as LBJ, but we'll see if they start referring to him that way. Anyway, without the filibuster, that means that Republicans will not be needed to pass any legislation. You won't need to get 10 Republicans to get these policy agendas passed anymore. And make no mistake, he didn't blink when he signed the $1.9 trillion support from Republicans then. So I don't think he's going to hesitate when it comes to the filibuster being ended as well. And it's terrifying for American people because this is fundamental change. This is top-down socialist fantasy land territory that we are entering in. And I know, Rita knows, we all know that as the federal government grows, the citizen shrinks. And that's just unfortunate. And it's our self-governance going away because the federal government is inserting themselves into our lives. Rita, please tell me that there is something that we can do to stop this. What can we do? There's got to be something, right?
Yeah, well, you definitely paint a bleak picture, Andrew, but it's an accurate picture. There is hope, but it's not going to come from DC. Washington has rigged this game against normal citizens. It's nearly impossible for a normal citizen to really have impact on what's happening in Washington, D.C. No, the solution lies elsewhere. It's we the people. We have the Constitution and the power of the states on our side. And that's why an Article 5 Convention of States is the smart strategy for those who still believe in America and its founding principles. This is no pipe dream either. This is a movement rising. We have already passed through the state legislatures in 15 states, and 22 more are considering our legislation this year. Things have been very busy for our movement as the urgency continues to ramp up. So here's some of the latest Convention of States news from the past week. I'm going to start with Kansas. Despite terrible weather conditions last Tuesday, well over 100 Convention of States Kansas supporters showed up in Topeka for a committee hearing and Save America rally. Now, the committee did not vote yet, but it is expected to do so in the coming days. And local media even showed up at that rally. Check out this video clip.
Hearing on a resolution with the goal to limit the power of the federal government. More than 100 Kansans gathered outside the State House in support of the measure. Kansans rallying outside the state capitol, calling for change.
Have a tyranny right now.
You do not have to roll over and be quiet and play the game.
The group called Convention of States, voicing their concerns on the future of the country.
Those are the people that I serve, just the regular people of Kansas who want to see Washington, D.C. out of their lives and want to see the decisions being made here in the Kansas legislature.
We've seen a big increase from the federal side, trillions of dollars being spent, big overreaches on the rights of individuals. We have to go and return those opportunities to the states.
Let's move on now to Missouri. On Tuesday, 2 resolutions that the COS Missouri team is pushing advanced through committee. Those resolutions would set rules for selecting commissioners to an Article 5 convention and remove the sunset clause on our resolution, which has already passed once in Missouri. Although Missouri was the 12th state to join the movement, that legislation is currently set to expire next year. It does have that sunset clause, but they're working now on removing that and extending the life of the resolution. In West Virginia, on Wednesday, the West Virginia Senate became the first full chamber this year to pass our Article 5 resolution. So it's really exciting to see the movement there. The legislation received overwhelming approval on just a voice vote without even any debate. And it's now headed to the West Virginia House for further consideration. So great win, COS West Virginia team. And then in Wisconsin, a Senate committee heard citizen testimony in a 4-hour marathon hearing. Mark Meckler, the Convention of States co-founder and president, was on hand to answer questions, and he did a stellar job as usual. And Convention of States Wisconsin volunteers populated 3 overflow rooms. Due to COVID restrictions, they had to spread them out a little bit more, but still 3 overflow rooms of citizens who took the day off work and traveled to the Capitol because it was so important to them to speak up about Convention of States. The hearing was streamed live on COS social media networks, including a post-hearing interview with State Director Joanne Laufenberg, while she and other patriots gathered at a local restaurant for lunch. And again, that committee did not vote, but the team is expecting it to take action in the coming days. So lots of exciting movement going on around the country. Andrew, the truth is I am more hopeful than ever.
After hearing all of that, I'm more hopeful than ever too, because that's really exciting news, hearing the progress that we are seeing despite the craziness that is going on in DC. And it's so reassuring hearing the patriots on the ground who are working tirelessly to bring the very first Article 5 convention to reality. So if you are not part of this movement yet, it's time for you to get involved. It's time for you to show up, to speak up and stand up, because the Republic is worth saving. So go to, if you want to get involved with the Founder Solution, go to conventionofstates.com, www.conventionofstates.com, sign the petition and join the team and get involved in this movement. All right, we're going to go to the person that we are interviewing for this episode. we have Jay Taylor, who is the West Virginia Legislative Liaison for Convention of States. Jay, how are you doing?
Great, great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to bring you on. So I want to jump right into the first question because everyone wants to get the scoop on what happened in West Virginia. So for those that missed it, explain for the audience what happened in West Virginia last week.
With the state Senate, we had our SCR 5, that's the Convention of States resolution, was up, and we made it into Senate Judiciary. We knew we had the votes, and there has been a lot going on in the West Virginia legislature. As you can see here in the background, I got the House session on right now. That's live with some debates going on the floor, so I've been monitoring everything that's going on there. But back to the Senate, we in the committee there, usually there's a nice vigorous debate. We had typically in the years past, there's one senator in there that really goes on and on and on. And if I said on yet, but this time I'm not really sure. I think there's some stuff that happened maybe, but he just let it go, and we totally passed on a voice vote in there. There was no debate, no testimony, and passed on a total voice vote. Went to the floor. We thought there'd be a big debate there. Kind of the same thing. We weren't even sure where we were going to wind up. They had us on that listed on unfinished business, and we were worried we were going to get bumped to the end, and then maybe they'd because there's all this other stuff. They're talking to tax restructures, intermediate court, and all these other bills that get the local attention really big. We thought maybe we'd get bumped to the end, and then they'd be tired by the end of the day and be like, "Oh, we'll take care of that tomorrow." Nope. First thing, we were up right away, and they said, "All right, unfinished business. We got SCR 5. Any debate?" Crickets. All right, those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Passed. On to the House. So there we go. It was the easiest. And, obviously we did a lot of work in the background, making sure everybody was on board. We've got super majorities in both chambers, and we knew the Senate would be our easy way to get through, but we didn't realize it'd be this easy. So we reached out to all our senators and made sure to thank them all. And we're, hoping to be the next one to pass here real soon here in West Virginia.
The thank yous to the legislators who are supportive are always so important. And, when I listened to that voice vote for the West Virginia Senate, it was really compelling. It was overwhelmingly clear that the vast majority of the West Virginia senators were in favor of this. And Jay, you and your team have worked so hard to get to this point. I know you personally have been involved with Convention of States in West Virginia
years
since the beginning. Yeah, since you were one of the first people I met, and I've been involved since the beginning. And you and your team have just been relentless at building the Army and really forging relationships with your legislators. And I know that a recent scientific study showed that 70% of West Virginia voters are in favor of an Article 5 Convention of States to propose constitutional amendments that limit federal spending, limit federal power, and set term limits for Congress and or federal judges. And in that West Virginia survey, what's so interesting is that support for this effort crossed party lines, with 76% of Republicans supporting and 65% of Democrats in favor. So in these times when it seems like America is so divided, why do you think that West Virginians on both sides of the aisle generally support our movement?
Well, West Virginia's definitely become a very conservative state here. We like our Second Amendment. We like our rights, and the federal overreach has never been any type of from people here in West Virginia. They want to be left alone. They want to do their thing, and we want to control our own destiny, I guess is what you can say. And so they've seen the federal government overreach, and they don't want any part of that. So I think that's the biggest reason why you're seeing a lot of that cross over with that. So I'm hopeful that maybe we'll get some yes votes here in the House from some of the Democrats, but we do have super majorities on the Republican side here in West Virginia, and it's kind of weird because the majority is so big there on the House. We could actually lose 26 Republicans and still pass our resolution. So it's at this point it's just a matter of getting to the vote, because I know we've got a big majority that are supporting us.
That is just fantastic to hear the majorities that you have and the support that you have, legislators, yes, but also from the grassroots, which is absolutely amazing. And then to hear that there's bipartisan support on both sides of the aisle is so important. And you mentioned you were kind of walking the viewers through what happened on the Senate side, how there was a voice vote. You heard crickets when the option for debate came up, and then you had basically unanimous agreement to pass the COS resolution. So what's next in this step? What's going to happen next? Walk our viewers, please, through the next step. And is West Virginia going to be the 16th state that passes the COS resolution?
Fingers crossed. There's a lot going on. We're like this Wednesday is crossover day. So like right now they're trying to get out a number of different things. They're debating some various bills they've got an income tax bill, the intermediate court. There's all these other things that are, that they're trying to get out and get over. And crossover day, for anybody that doesn't know what that means, is you got to have all the bills that originate from the one chamber to the other chamber by Wednesday. So that really doesn't matter for resolutions. But here's the thing, it matters for us because they're busy with other things right now. So they have to get all these things out and over to the other side. We're currently waiting to get on the agenda in House Judiciary. Once we do that, we've got our whip count. We know we're solid in Judiciary. We know we're solid on the floor. So it's really just a matter of getting the vote, getting it done, and getting going. So that's one thing I really strongly encourage people in other legislatures, in other states that are working with their legislators. Make sure you're working with them on things. Get to know them. I mean, that's one thing I've tried to do is, I know a lot of these legislators, and have not only worked with them on this, but other things, and helped them in their campaigns, and that makes a big difference, because when I go down there, they know me by name and they recognize me, and then we can talk about this and see who needs other has concerns, and I can ask various people like, okay, who has what concerns, and we can work with that and get information to them. So it's that's a big deal, and just seeing where we're at right now with the different things that's going on, that they're the stuff that they're working on. So that way we're not like bombarding them right at this moment, but we're knowing where they're going. We know the plan. So I'm hoping after crossover day here later in this week that we can get on the agenda, and then get on the floor. So I'm excited. I'm very hopeful. The session ends on April 10th. So hopefully hopefully we're past, but way before then. But we'll take it. We'll take what we get.
Well, Jay, as a West Virginia mountaineer myself, I certainly am pulling for West Virginia to be Sweet 16 as far as the list of states that have passed the Convention of States resolution. And I love hearing you talk about the importance of building relationships with the legislators. That's really the key, because they really are just people like you and me.
Oh, yes.
And when you have a relationship with them, they know you by name. It's just makes everything so much easier and it works so much more smoothly. Jay, I would consider you an expert at talking to legislators about convention of states. So I want to know, what is your message right now to legislators in West Virginia and why it's important for your state to join this movement to rein in the federal government?
Well, particularly with West Virginia, we've really seen just, West Virginia is a coal producing state, and, between the coal and, we've got a lot of even some of the stuff with fracking and, the oil production. So we've been devastated with, just a lot of the stuff with coal that has just, totally transformed. And I mean, the Green New Deal would just be devastating to us. And that's one of the most important things here between the energy crisis that the federal government would put upon us, the Second Amendment crisis. Those two are the biggest showstoppers that just, really concern West Virginians. And I know our legislators are absolutely just wanting to make sure we protect. And I know that they're excited to actually see a convention happen so that we can rein the federal government in, so that we can take back control to the states. So that's one of the biggest arguments I always make with them when we're talking.
And those are choice words to be saying to the legislator about the urgency that's going on right now because of things like the Green New Deal and other policy items that would restrict or hamper West Virginia's ability to be prosperous as a state, and that's just not okay.
Right.
So I want to switch gears a little bit, though, and get a little bit of your personal story. How did you become familiar with Convention of States, and why did you decide to put your life, your fortune, your sacred honor, all of that on the line to volunteer for Convention of States?
Well, let's see. When did Mark Levin's book came out? 2013. Was that right? Do I have that? I believe that's so that year when that came out, I knew I had that. And it was, it was a big conversation with my uncle who lives down in South Carolina. And he had signed up down there for Convention of States and was telling me I needed to get involved up here in West Virginia. And I was like, yeah, this is really great. And I said, I don't know how much time I have. I work with all these different things, I'm already active on the political front. And he told me, he's like, Jay, this is the most important thing that we can do. And this is necessary. If we don't do something, our country's going to be ruined and we're not going to have a country anymore. And I was like, well, yeah, you're right. And so I signed up then and, been involved ever since then, right away there. We've worked it for 8 years now. So it's been quite a process. We've passed the House or the Senate now. Is this 3 or 4 times now that we've passed this? And then the House, we've only had it come up for a vote one time. That was back in 2019. So I'm real hopeful this time that we've got the pressure from the Senate passing it. So that'll be, with the election last year, there was even bigger majorities that they got. So I'm really excited this year. It's been really great to work with everybody. We've had Tom Coburn's come in, Mike Ferris come in, Mark Meckler's been here a number of times, and that's such a people love it. And when you bring those guys down, and we'll be at events. I know we've had them to. We had our state Republican Executive Committee put Convention of States into the party platform, and we had Tom Coburn come and speak at that event, and it was amazing to see some of the legislators come up to him and want to get pictures with him, and that just helped inspire all of them to realize, like, look, this is important. And Every time I go down to Charleston, this is a little tradition of mine, but every time I get down there and work Convention of States, on my drive home, I call my uncle, and my Uncle Jerry down there in South Carolina, who's working the Convention of States down there. So we've got a little family thing going here with the 2 states hopefully getting it passed. And I give him an update, and he gives me an update, and it's been great. So we're looking forward to hopefully both of them getting it done this year.
Absolutely. I hope so too. And I just love that story. I love that Convention of States is a family affair for you, Jay. As you know, we are a nonpartisan organization, but
Correct.
There definitely seems to be an increased urgency right now. The new administration is on this path to increasing the size of government at a much faster pace, and even to remake the court system. Are you personally concerned about the trajectory that America is on right now?
Oh, it's scary. I mean, it's just, all this stuff with between the cancel culture and, what you can even say in your churches. I mean, some of the churches are even scared of the things, and where everything's going with who would have thought that we'd need to have bills, and, I've tried to help with some of the bills down there with in our legislature, making sure that boys can't play girls sports. And it's like, oh my gosh, where have we gone? It's so sad and it's so scary. And I'm real hopeful that the Convention of States can happen soon, so that we can get this back under control before, because we're reaching a critical point. It really is super, super scary. It's like a daily cancel this, cancel that. And I mean, you just have to shake your head at it all the time. And it's like, none of it makes any sense. And it was like last year, the first victim of COVID was common sense. So it's awful. And I truly believe that Convention of States is the only way we're going to save our country.
I absolutely agree with you on that too. And it just seems like the floodgates of cancel culture and big government are just open, and they're just pouring out, and it's only going to get worse. And the Convention of States resolution passing in all 34 states, this is going to be the only way to dam up the flood of cancel culture, the flood of big government.
Right.
So with that being in mind, our resolution, it covers 3 topics: fiscal restraints, term limits for elected officials, bureaucrats, basically anyone in the swamp. And then it also covers federal overreach as well. So in light of what's going on in Washington, D.C., with like the Biden administration considering and signaling the end of the other things, the big government kind of progressive agenda, which is wide open right now. Is there a specific amendment that you like most that would fit within the 3 categories that I just mentioned: the fiscal restraints, term limits, and reducing the federal government's overreach?
I do have one, and I know that this would probably come up at the convention, and there'd probably be an argument for it if it would be germane or not. And I believe an argument could be made that it would be germane to federal overreach and keeping the federal overreach in check for a voter integrity amendment, meaning that, U.S. citizens, voter ID, and in-person only, for really extraordinary circumstances. So, pretty much most of the time it's in person. I get that there needs to be exceptions and whatnot, but, no exceptions on citizens and an ID. So, but I really think that would be a huge thing for us to get, and really help to make sure that our elections are secure, and that the federal overreach is in check.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jay, for our viewers who are watching this program right now from wild, wonderful West Virginia, how can they help Convention of States right now and help West Virginia become state number 16 to join the Convention of States movement?
Well, if they haven't signed up yet, they certainly need to do that. But we'll be watching. Once we get on the agenda, we'll probably be sending out some messages to, make sure to encourage all the members on the judiciary. And then once we're actually on the floor, we'll be sending out messages to encourage all the delegates to vote for it there. We're not in panic mode yet. If we don't get on the agenda, closer to the end, yes, we'll be in panic mode. But we think everything's good, and we're hearing positive things from both the speaker and the chair, and everybody else, and even our sponsors. So we're working it through the process, but just be ready, because we definitely want nice, strong, encouraging, friendly messages going out once we're on those agendas and once we're on the floor. So.
It's great to hear. Certainly wise words for those who are not yet supporting the Convention of States, or who can make a difference by continuing their support for Convention of States. Excellent. Well, Jay, congratulations to you and the entire West Virginia team. We know that you are working tirelessly to make Virginia become the 16th state to pass the COS resolution. So, West Virginia. Sorry. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Just so you know, that's just like, whoa, that's almost
I
that's
know. I heard
criminal.
Really. I know. You can rake me over the coals. Go ahead. I can take it. I'm sorry for the mental slip.
I'd hear about it if I didn't give you a really hard time on it.
That's right, Jay. Good job.
Anyway, congratulations to you and West Virginia, the entire West Virginia team. And we hope to have you back to talk more about the successes that you see there, and when West Virginia becomes the 16th state to pass the COS resolution.
Excellent.
Well, I'm sure you've enjoyed the show so far. And if you are sitting on the very edge of your seat, wondering who is going to win our COS store t-shirt, remember, our store is not quite open yet. These are actually prototype samples to make sure that the quality is good, that we can deliver on what we promised you when we do open, and we'll be opening very soon. And we're going to give that shirt away just to spread the wealth a tiny bit if you happen to be the winner. And it is a size large, in case you're wondering. But the answer to our trivia question, of course, first question was, which state is celebrating this week the second anniversary of their passage of the COS resolution? It's the 15th state to do it, the very last state so far to do it. Although, as you guys know, and you heard today, there's a race going on for number 16. And that state is Mississippi, the Magnolia State. So if you put Mississippi down and you were the first one, then you are the winner of this shirt. And that was March 27th. 2019 seems so long ago, but boy, we are on the cusp of really busting out with some other states that are going to pass. So thanks for listening, and I'll turn it back to Andrew and Rita.
Thanks, Mike. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and sign off for today. It's been a really busy schedule that we've had, a lot of exciting stuff going on. But if you feel like your rights are being steamrolled, maybe it's time for you to get involved in this movement, in the Convention of States movement. Because the founders knew that we would be in the situation that we are currently in right now. They knew at some point the federal government would go well beyond what it was intended to do. They knew that the federal government would expand and be uncontrolled. And so they gave us this amazing solution in Article 5, where we get to call the states together to propose amendments. And our amendments seek to reduce the size, scope, and jurisdiction of the federal government. This is the moment where we can cheat history, where we can get back to the founding principles that we were supposed to always be adhering to. So if you haven't joined this movement, please, I want you to do two things. First, I want you to go to the Convention of States website. Go to www.conventionofstates.com. Sign the petition and then share the petition. The second thing I want you to do, the time is now for you to get involved by getting on the front line, by helping to build this grassroots army that is seeking to reclaim self-governance. Join your local team. Get involved as a leader in your community and help to bring the very first Article 5 Convention of States to reality. The time is now to get involved. And we're going to need you if we're ever going to change DC.
And don't forget to follow us on Rumble, MeWe, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Parler, and Instagram. Check out the Battle Cry with COS President Mark Meckler. That's Sunday nights at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Time. We will see you back here next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time for another edition of COS Live. But right now it's time for you and me to get to work because we have a country to save. And remember, if you're looking for the person who's going to restore the republic, look in a mirror. Thanks for joining us.